Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Madera City Council and special meeting of the Madera City Council as the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Today is Wednesday, March 19, 2025. It is now 6 p.m. and I call this meeting to order. City Clerk Gonzalez.
The Madera City Council meetings are open to the public. This meeting will also be available for public viewing and participation through Zoom. Members of the public may also observe the live stream meeting on the city's website at www.madera.gov/live. Members of the public may comment on agenda items at the meeting or remotely through an electronic meeting via phone by dialing 669-900-6833, enter ID 870-6778-7378 #. Press *9 to raise your hand to comment and *6 to unmute yourself to speak. Comments will also be accepted via email at citycouncilpubliccomment@madera.gov or by regular mail at 205 West 4th Street, Madera, California, 93637. We'd also like to remind the public that Wordly is available. You can scan the QR code on your agenda, and it is also available on the live stream.
Thank you for that. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gallegos?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez?
Here.
Councilmember Zachariah?
Here.
Councilmember Montes?
Here.
Councilmember Evans is absent. Councilmember Mejia is absent, and Councilmember Villegas.
Here.
Thank you for that. If everybody could please stand for our invocation with Reverend Joseph from Awakening Church of God. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Gallegos, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, and City Council members. It's always an honor to be with you all. If I could read from Psalm 72. Give your love of justice to the King, O God, and righteousness to the King's Son. Help him judge your people in the right way. Let the poor always be treated fairly. May the mountains yield prosperity for all, and may the hills be fruitful. Help him to defend the poor and rescue the children of the needy, and to crush their oppressors. May they fear you as long as the sun shines, as long as the moon remains in the sky, yes, forever. Let's pray. Lord, thank you. Thank you for just your goodness and your favor and your grace. Thank you for the privilege to be part of this amazing community, Lord. I pray, God, for our mayor pro tem, Lord, our council members, as they discuss the business of your community, and I pray that you lead them and you guide them and give them wisdom. Lord, thank you for the citizens of Madera and the heart of this town and what it represents to the Central Valley and to California. I pray you be with us this evening as we discuss this business, Lord. I pray you lead us. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for the flag salute.
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez. Moving on to the agenda, we're looking for the approval. And before we approve the agenda, I would ask my colleagues to move E1 up. It's for Mid-Valley's report. They've had a long day and been up very early, so we don't want them to have to stay up much longer and get some rest. So do I have any other things that would like to be changed or comments?
With that, I move to adopt the agenda with item E1 moving up to the front.
Second that.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that. City Clerk Gonzalez.
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers will be asked but are not required to identify themselves and state the subject of their comments. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold the comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is opened. The council is prohibited by law from taking any actions on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusions should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time.
Thank you for that. At this time, I open up for public comment. Anybody would like to comment, please come over to the podium and line up.
Hello, my name is Megan Oxelson, and I'd like to address about Campfire and Incredible Kids Day. So, good evening, Mayor and City Council members, especially Councilmember Jose Rodriguez, who was so kind to recognize me earlier this month. Tonight, I came here to help highlight something that Campfire has been trying to highlight for many, many years. It is a celebration of young people and the incredible impact that they have on our lives. Tomorrow marks Absolutely Incredible Kid Day, a national holiday founded by Campfire in 1997, dedicated to uplifting and inspiring kids everywhere with the power of words. Kids Day is more than just a celebration. It is a reminder of how much our encouragement and kindness means to the young people around us. Each year, millions of people take a moment to write or tell a young person why they matter and what makes them amazing. These simple acts of love and support can change lives, build confidence, and remind our kids that they are seen, valued, and appreciated. Here in Madera's local chapter of Campfire, we believe in creating meaningful connections and fostering a sense of belonging. That's why, tomorrow evening, our chapter hosts a dinner where every Campfire member is asked to invite an important adult in their life to a dinner gathering. It is a chance to gather as a community, celebrate the remarkable kids among us, and strengthen the bonds that help young people thrive. We also invite each of you to take part in this powerful tradition by writing a note to a special child in your life or community. Your words have the power to uplift, inspire, and make a lasting impact. As we share these moments, let's remember that our encouragement can light the way for the next generation. Thank you for letting me speak this evening and for helping us celebrate the absolute incredible kids in our community, two of which are right here, Daniela Oxelson and Kaya Bitter. Let's see, absolutely. Our community's next generation is very promising. Let's make tomorrow a day they will always remember. And I also have letters. They actually have the little to and from and stuff on it. So if you wanted to pass them out, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Mayor, at this time, I would ask you to grant me at least a minute or two here to recognize her. I was absent. I do appreciate you for filling in, but I wanted to take this moment to recognize her. I know we had this. So again, I think this was said, but I'll say it in my words. Thank you. Born and raised in Madera, California, Megan Oxelson proudly declares Soy de Madera. And I wanted to make sure that was out there because that's how she earned her nickname Pinocchio during her junior year in high school in Argentina. And I wanted to make sure I elaborated on that because it's important to you. You've traveled the world. You've been a great asset to our community. I appreciate everything you've done. I just wanted to personally tell you that and recognize you. Thank you, Megan. And thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez. Any more comment in the House? I see none. Do we have any online or written comment?
Mayor, we did receive one written public comment. That comment has been distributed to council, and there are copies on the podium if anyone wishes to read it.
Perfect. With that, I close public comment, and we will move to E1. City Clerk.
Item E1 is Mid-Valley's 2024 annual update and the recycler of the year.
Thank you for that. And we have presenting owner Joseph Kabakov and his team. I think we have recycling program manager Hansen with us tonight. Welcome.
Want me to wait? Let's not do that.
Well, good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. Joseph Kalbakov, owner of Mid-Valley Disposal. Thank you for highlighting that our folks do wake up a little early in the morning. I think they start at 4:30 to get the garbage picked up. Before we start the presentation on the recycler of the year, I can't not have my team up here and recognize a couple guys that just finished one of the largest cleanups in the valley. Your City Madera's curbside cleanup finished up last week, and driving through the area and the aggressive plan they put together this year to get it done from 6 weeks down to 4 weeks had me concerned, and I still approve the plan because they were confident with that. So I want to introduce really quick Rick Rye, who is our operations manager here in Madera, and put together the plan, executed the plan with a couple days to spare, and I'll let him talk really quick through that.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and City staff. Rick Rye, Operation Manager for Mid-Valley Disposal. I also have Ray Sanchez, our local supervisor for the City of Madera here, as well in the audience. I just want to give a quick update regarding the annual cleanup. Historically, this curbside cleanup was a 6-week project broken down to 3 zones. My team was able to condense this cleanup into a 4-week project, breaking down into 2 zones. We were able to successfully execute our target and complete this in a timely manner. Even though mailers were sent out to all the residents, we do understand that some residents still didn't get their mailers or were up to date on exactly their cleanup date. So my staff did a sweep to the entire city on March 14th. Any illegal dump piles, any late set outs were all picked up. The team picked up over 3.5 million pounds of trash. That is not including mattresses, metals, e-waste, or organics. I want to thank the city staff along with code enforcement for making this a successful cleanup. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Wow, that's amazing.
Okay, and then now I'll introduce Billy Hansen, who is our recycling programs manager, and she will give a quick update on the 24 report and then go ahead and present the Recycler of the Year.
Oh, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I was here earlier this year for your annual update. So this is like a brief update of that update, right? So I didn't want to repeat everything since I was just here a few months ago. So this is what we've done since then. And then at the end, I'll bring Fernando up, who's your recycling coordinator, so he can announce the Recycler of the Year. So in total, what we were able to complete in 2024 as far as community events, we actually did quite a few events in Madera this year, which I'm very proud of. Fernando was at all of them, so if you recognize him, that's why. We did the Coalition for Community Justice, which was your Earth Day event. We got to be at your Madera food bank groundbreaking ceremony, which is very exciting. And I know that I believe their grand opening is in just a few days, which we won't be able to make that, but we are very, very excited. And we're hoping to schedule a in-person tour with them privately after they've done their grand opening. The backpack giveaway, which was a new event this year and very successful. The Old Timers Day Parade, which is a tried and true, we're always there. Life Games, the Pomegranate Festival, of course, and your Christmas parade. So it was a busy year. We are looking forward to having another busy event season this year. I see them already kind of starting to trickle in with the Earth Day events. So we're super excited to be out there again. As far as outreach and education, Fernando was able to perform 370 on-site assessments. So that means he's going to the commercial businesses, to the multifamily dwellings, and provide on-site education to owners, property managers, employees, which is 370. That's a lot. It's a lot for him to do in a year. So he should be very proud of that. And we distributed over 2,000 educational flyers, and that number does not include the direct mails that we include in utility billing. So the 2,000 number is Fernando on the street handing out flyers. We did do 4 additional educational pieces in utility billing, and all of your tier 1 and tier 2 food generators were educated, which is great. I will just briefly summarize. We covered this in your earlier annual update, your route review results. So as you know, we have to go out and do in-person lid flipping now for contamination monitoring under SB 1383. So what you're seeing on the screen is for each stream, organics, trash, and recycling, the dark colored containers on the left are the ones that we found contamination, and the yellow highlighted containers on the right are the containers that we found the customer was doing an exceptional job and we were able to leave a good job tag, which is a voucher for a countertop food scrap pail. So our first round looked really great. We're currently in the process of preparing for this year's route review. So we're excited to see how the results stack up against last year. Of course, we'll be looking in different areas. So it'll just be exciting to see those trends over time. And the Recycler of the Year, I'll have Fernando come down. We wrote a little bit of something. And do we have Andre here? Come on down. Anna, are you here as well? Come on down. Go ahead, Fernando.
Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here today on behalf of Mid-Valley Disposal to recognize an outstanding business in our community. We are proud to present the 2024 Recycler of the Year Award for the City of Madera to the Vineyard Restaurant and Bar. The Vineyard is more than just a beloved landmark in Madera. It is also a leader in sustainability. Their dedication to proper waste sorting is truly commendable, as they consistently source, separate recyclables, organics, and trash with precision, ensuring zero contamination. What sets the Vineyard apart is their long-standing commitment to organics recycling. They subscribed to the organics program back in 2017, well before it was required under SB 1383. Demonstrating their proactive approach to the environmental responsibility, their staff plays a crucial role in this environment, ensuring that food waste is diverted at every stage, from preparation in the kitchen to leftovers on customers' plates. Their dedication to sustainability and waste reduction sets an incredible example for the restaurant industry and the community as a whole. It is businesses like the Vineyard that help create a cleaner, greener future for Madera. On behalf of Mid-Valley Disposal, we thank the Vineyard Restaurant and Bar for their leadership and commitment to responsible recycling. Please join me in congratulating them as Madera's 2024 Recycler of the Year.
Thank you.
Say a few words.
Let's go.
On behalf of the Vineyard, we appreciate you guys and so much. And, you know, we try to do what's best for the community and the youth. And we just like to just keep the positive energy just going, you know. That's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you for what you do. Yes, you can come up to the front for a picture.
Yeah. Oh, we're going back up. Want to knock someone out?
Hey, look at me like that. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Promote your faces.
Andre, hello. Maybe in here.
I know. I'm moving in here. I know. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. It's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Turn sideways.
We're gonna try to get there. Circle team here tonight.
Yep, ready? 1, 2, 3. We have a couple of phones. 1, 2, 3. All right. I got it.
One more. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Which one's this one? Look in your office.
Thank you.
Take this home.
You can take it home.
So take it home. That was fun.
And then make sure. Perfect.
Thank you again. Congratulations, Vineyard. And before I move on, Mid-Valley, our community thanks you for our curbside cleanup. It is amazing what you do for us. We truly appreciate that partnership with you. Okay, moving on, we have no public hearings. Next, City Clerk, item B.
Item B is the consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, a member of the public or a member of the council may request an item to be removed from the consent calendar, and it will be considered separately.
Thank you for that. I bring it back to my colleagues for any items or comments. If not, Councilmember Villegas.
Yeah, I would like to call item B10 to be removed from the consent calendar. I have a
Okay.
nomination for this position.
Thank you for that.
Service.
Anything else, council members?
Move to approve the remainder of the consent minus item 10. I'll second B10.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I will open it up for public comment. Any comment online or written?
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you. With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to B10, Councilmember Villegas.
I have a nomination for civil service. The lady is right here, and you got the application in the resume for this lady. Her name is Virginia Morales.
Okay, that is not what the appointment is for B10. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor.
It is for civil service.
So I just want to get some clarity on the item that's on here, especially with the report. So item 10 is for an appointment of the civil service.
Correct.
The report does state that the city council will allow one nomination alongside the mayor. In cases where you see a vacancy for a prolonged time, the mayor may take action in wanting to add someone to that civil service. At this time, are you requesting that there be a nomination? Did you request a nomination?
Well, I suppose they have a nomination, and I have it. I got it. I submit the application and the resume for the lady.
So if I may ask, Madam Mayor, was there a reason why we have such a long vacancy? Were you not aware of the vacancy in the civil service?
No, I wasn't.
It has been vacant for over 4 years. Your first term, it was never filled. This is your second term. So in order to do business in the city, we need to have a quorum. We have not had a quorum quite a bit because we do have vacancies in a lot of our commissions. Civil service is very important. If Councilmember Villegas can tell me what is needed in a applicant for civil service, that would be important for this community to hear.
Well, before you
This is a new period. It's a new. I am elected for second term, so, and the first term I couldn't find anybody, so this time I have it. I have it a little late, but it's on. It's
Okay, but my
application,
question is, what is needed for the civil service? What is needed in that commissioner?
everything. It's vacancy.
Madam,
Nobody in that.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to make a point. There seems to be a vacancy in my district as well.
Mhm.
Not sure how long that vacancy has been there, but if this council would accept, I would say that I would like to, and I'll ask legal counsel, if my vacancy can be filled by the current applicant. I'm not sure if it's required for our districts. I know in different other appointments that we've had appointments where we've had different members of our community be part of our appointments that are not necessarily from someone's district. In this case, it's a resident, but I'd be more than happy to fill in that vacancy with the current applicant or appointee and giving Councilmember Villegas an opportunity to bring in his appointee or his nominee. Not sure if the council would entertain that.
Well, right now, it is on the agenda for John Jasper to fill in District 6 vacancy for the Civil Service Commission.
Correct.
If you had to move it or choosing to move it or put somebody else in place, it would have to go through a process.
Correct. So I would ask that we bring this back. I can have him fill in my vacancy and give Councilmember Villegas an opportunity to fill in his vacancy with his nomination. At the end, I think we all get the nomination that we all would like to see, but this gives him an opportunity. Mr. Villegas, I think it's important, as our mayor said, to have these vacancies because they are, we conduct business. But I mean, if this body would entertain that, I'd be more than happy to do that if our legal counsel accepts it. Is that?
City Attorney, would you like to?
Yes,
chime in?
thank you. So the way that process would work is if Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez made a nomination to the mayor could accept the nomination and make the appointment, and then it could come to the council either at the next meeting or even this meeting, given your agenda title, for approval as to that particular district. What that would mean, however, is Mr. Jasper would no longer be appointed for Councilmember Villegas' position. It would go to the Mayor Pro Tem position, but that would depend on a two-step approach. Formally making the nomination, the mayor accepting the nomination, and then the matter being brought to the City Council for confirmation.
So that we don't complicate this, you know, I just, in all fairness, I'd like to nominate Mr. Jasper to fill in my vacancy on District 2. If this body would accept that and then make that table the items to have Councilmember Villegas' nominee be appointed as well.
With that, I will call Councilmember Montes for his comment.
Yeah, so I see the points that everybody's trying to make, right? The mayor's trying to get business done, which is our job, right? The position had been vacant for 4 years, over 4 years. But I do understand Councilmember Villegas' right to have that appointment. I think today the compromise would be we can go ahead and move forward with Mr. Jasper as proposed in the item, and then we can come back because we can always change the appointments, right? Giving Councilmember Villegas an opportunity, because I'm not seeing any. They're saying there's a application that's been submitted or something. I'm not seeing anything. It's not in the agenda packet. Am I missing something? No, yeah, this is for Jasper.
That one's hers now.
Oh, okay, it's right here. Okay, my apologies. Okay, but again, that would be my recommendation to move forward with Jasper as it is proposed in the agenda item today, and then we can always come back, right? We can always come back and say, okay, we can move things around because this is the first time I'm seeing this right now, right? This is the
right, and it should be submitted to our city clerk through the process.
Today. So it got submitted today, and so we're getting it, and it's on the dice.
Are you asking about the application for Mr. Jasper?
No, for
Morales?
Yeah.
Morales is today, yeah.
Yeah, so this is the first time I'm seeing it. So that would be my recommendation, move forward so we can continue to conduct business, because we're not going to have another council meeting until next month. Right. And then there could still be some deliberation, and that's appropriate. I think we can, come to a compromise. But moving forward today so that our Civil Service Commission does have the opportunity to conduct business. I mean, it's a very important role for our employees, for hiring people. Am I mistaken? Right. For, making sure that the work gets done in the city. So in the interest of just making sure that we can continue to do business as we move forward with Mr. Jasper, and then whatever nominations are made, they can be made, and then the council will have an opportunity to vote on that at a later time. That would be my, so again, I see both points. Mayor's trying to get things done, and then the council member is entitled to have that nomination.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Montes. Councilman Zachariah.
Thank you. And again, just for clarification, so I can understand, first off, it is still possible to have, in this particular position, somebody from outside of your district serve under your, correct? And is there a required amount of time, meaning if we approved Jasper today and at a time Mr. Vegas wanted to appoint somebody else, is that still a possibility at a later meeting, or and does he have that? Does he still have the authority to do that?
He has made to answer your question, Councilmember, good question. So assuming that Mr. Jasper was shifted over, his term would be, may have to be modified. I'm looking at the city clerk for that, for her to calculate it, because the term would likely change to sync up with the mayor pro tems. Then Councilmember Villegas has made a nomination to the mayor. The mayor would need an opportunity to review that nomination and decide whether to accept or reject the nomination. Mm-hmm. If she accepted it, she'd make the appointment, and the appointment would go to the city council at a future meeting. If she did not accept the nomination, she would go back to, or the city clerk or the mayor would go back and seek another nomination from the council member, provide a reasonable time. If nothing was provided in a reasonable time, the mayor could then make her own appointment, bring it to the city council for confirmation. Never makes it easy, does it?
No, but I mean, but for clarification, so there's no time limit that says he's allowed to serve a certain amount of time. And then again, if approved, is the ability for Vegas to still have that ability to decide his own person is what I'm asking. So,
that is correct. I would like to flag, however, that the ordinance that you currently have probably could use a little bit of cleanup. For example, you do not have a removal process. So if you appoint someone to an office and something adverse happens, there's not a mechanism currently to remove them unless you go out, find a new nominee, go through the nomination process, have the mayor accept the appointment, bring it to the city council, and have them confirm it. So there are some things in the ordinance that could use some cleanup at some time. I just wanted to flag for you.
Great, thank you for your comment. At this time, I'm going to open it up for public comment. If there's,
I do have a comment. I have my.
Well, we can hold that comment until.
It's pertinent to this. Very important. So there was a motion on there, and what I want to do, just elaborate on is if we want to make this a clean way, I think the solution was just presented. Everybody wins. Mr. Jasper would take my district appointment. We give an opportunity to Councilmember Villegas to fulfill that nomination. I think he's brought one forth, and I think everybody wins. And this way, we don't have to clean this up later. It's very simple. We can table that item. I did nominate Mr. Jasper to be sitting on District 2. And if someone would second that, then we can bring him back, add him, and we would move forward. I think it'd be a lot cleaner than trying to go through this removal process and finding another person there. I think there's two people here willing to move forward on that.
Councilmember Montes.
I think it's good, but I don't think there would be any difference, right? If we just moved forward and then came back with an item, it would be the same amount of time, right? I get what you're saying. It'd be a little cleaner. So I will second that motion, but it's going to be the same process if we move forward today with what's on the table, and then later on, Councilmember Villegas has a nomination, and then it'll switch, right? So then your nomination would then be Jasper just moving over. It'd be the same thing, but again, I'm amenable to your. So right now, what we would do is move it from Council District 6 to 2, or we can't do that today.
No, we can put the nomination. We can accept it. It comes back on our next meeting. It comes back on our next.
Accept it today, so we would have that vacancy until the next council meeting.
The vacancy has happened for 4 years. I don't see it like hurting us, not moving it out to the next one.
We lost your position. She retired. So we are losing another body at that commission. At this time, I'd like to open up public comment. Anybody in the house that would like to speak, come on up to the podium.
It sounds like our attorney is trying to clarify something. Can we get our attorney to clarify that?
You want to go first? No, you go.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Karen Huerta. I live in District 6, so I think I have a say. You know, Rodriguez, you said it's not hurting anyone. Have you gone to District 6 to ask any of us how we felt? You should, because he's my district man. I've never seen him. I've seen John Jasper more in my district than I have ever seen him, ever. And it's sad. I'm in District 6. I'm in my community with our neighbors. Never once seen him unless I'm in this meeting. So I'm all for John Jasper. You have failed your district poorly, and shame on you. You've had over 4 years to fill the seat. It is hurting my community. I live in that district. I pay my property taxes. I have a right. Listen to your community. Your district is telling you, we want John Jasper. That's who should be in there. I live in that district. If you guys want to move it to next calendar, I'll bring in the whole neighborhood. And there's a whole lot of us. You know, I just say it does impact us. We do have an opinion. Ask one of us. And I chose to come because I saw it on calendar. That is my district. My name is Karen Huerta. I live at 124 Corona Drive, but you couldn't tell me that. I'm in my neighborhood waving at everybody. So yes, I'm for John Jasper being in that position. Please move past this, vote it in, let's move on. And maybe we can get some stuff done in our district, you know, from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Sally Bonprezi, past council member. I agree with what Karen says. I feel that Artemio had enough time to bring someone forward. John Jasper is qualified for this position, and I think he should be appointed. I think you should approve the resolution. And then if there's another person, like I said, the civil service is one of the most important commissions to be served. And as a mayor, if the council member can't find an appointment, I mean, we were all at large, okay? So the mayor made all the appointments. She has every right to make that appointment. And I think John is a perfect candidate. And I would urge you to move forward and approve John Jasper for District 6. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Oh, I'm too short. Good evening. My name is Michelle Garcia. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to say I agree with Ms. Huerta and Ms. Momprezi. I believe that John Jasper should fill that seat. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hello, my name is Angeles Cruz. To be honest, I don't know what district I belong to, but I am here on another matter. We would like to know, I went to a meeting yesterday with the police officer, Madera PD, and I wanted to know if
Excuse me, ma'am. Is this a comment towards the Civil Service Commission? That's the only public comment we're taking at this time.
Sorry, never mind.
No worries. Thank you for your comments. I see no more comments in the House. Do we have anybody online or written comment? City Clerk Gonzalez.
We have none, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I bring it back to my colleagues. Council Member, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gallegos. I don't think there's a dispute that we want Jasper. Jasper is going to be on there. I've made that appointment. There's a second on that. It's just a matter of process now. And I think, it's a matter of principle to allow your council member, as designed by the municipal code and what we have written, to allow him to nominate. That avoids a bitter taste and it allows him to get someone there. I think it's just a process that I think would suit this council so that there isn't any bitter taste. I know that Mr. Jasper is a qualified, so that's why under my district, I would bring him in. I think that would be appropriate. And I made that nomination. It's a win-win. There's a second, and I think we can still move forward. Yeah.
Council Member Montez.
So my question was, do we have a Civil Service Commission meeting between now and the next council meeting? Should know this. I don't. I apologize.
No. This is Wendy Silva speaking from Zoom. No, we do not. The next civil service meeting will be April 7.
Thank you, Wendy. And so we can reasonably anticipate that we could have the cleanup item that Mayor Pro Tem is asking for at our next council meeting? Okay, so there would be really no impact if we don't take action today, if we go with the proposal from Council or Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, correct? And
Correct.
other than I get what you're saying, but I just wanted to make sure, right? I agree with you saying. I did second the motion, so we'll take it to vote. But I just wanted to make sure. Again, my concern is that the city can continue to do business, and if we wait. And if we do Councilmember Rodriguez or Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez's proposal, it wouldn't impact anything as far as missing a civil service meeting or anything like that, right? Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Villegas.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say to the public comments, everybody knows me in Madera. Talk to the people and you will find out. I'm always up and down every single day. I'm retired. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows me from 2020, 21, the first term and the second term. Everybody knows me. I don't know if it's somebody that don't know me. I don't know. I'm always in the meetings. I'm always in the ribbon cuttings. I'm always everywhere because I have plenty of time. I don't have to work. I just work for the city.
Thank you.
My
Councilmember Villegas. Councilmember Zachariah.
Okay, and I'm only going to say this just to keep the process clean. I agree with Steve. I just want to make sure that if the concern is if appointed today with Jasper, is it going to be a messier process because we don't have, in a sense, I wouldn't say removal, but a transition process in place that would allow that movement? Because my concern is, again, if we make the motion and there is somebody that, not saying this person's not qualified, we just got notice of the second person. It is a good thing. I'm glad that we can have two people when we didn't have any before. But I just want to make sure if that process comes to be where this person is a qualified person, it can still happen.
A good example is I took a lot of my commissioners from District 1 to the mayor's spot, and they came to this council for approval. And that was just resubmitting their application. And that's exactly the process that we'll take if we keep John Jasper as District 6. So my comments are going to be where it's not leaving a bad taste in somebody's mouth. I am the mayor. I've seen vacancies. We haven't been able to take care of business. I motioned and appointed someone who's very qualified. We've already spoken here that we can amend this if needed. District 6 has spoken. We've heard some of the public speak that why stop business? That's what we're here to do. The mayor has appointments, and the mayor did not get her appointments. So it's not a matter of a bad taste in your mouth. It's taking care of business and doing what we need to do as leaders in this community. And that's how I feel about keeping with what we've put forth. Our staff has put in time. Time is money, taxpayer money, to process all of this paperwork to make sure we have appointments. They don't get paid. It's volunteer. I thank them for their time to stepping up and being part of this community and helping us make those decisions that we need. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you. Mayor Gallegos, I sincerely appreciate your passion. And I think you're right in that we have to get to the city's business. In this case, I think it was noted that it wouldn't really hurt us at this point. We'll gain two individuals in the civil service, and we'll be able to do it prior to the next civil service commission. And again, Mr. Jasper will be looking at an appointment coming directly from me. So yes, thank you. So that was I just want to make sure that you are correct in that we have to get to the business. But I think in this case, it's just done cleaner. We don't have a removal process. I think all that becomes a little messier, and we can just get this done in a clean swoop. We'll have it all squared away, and everybody has their.
And I think the removal process that our attorney was talking about is if a commissioner has done something that's not upstanding as a citizen. That's, I think, what our city attorney is talking about, a removal, not removal from a district commissioner to another district commissioner or from one commission to the other commission. Council Member Montez.
Yeah, I think, again, I'm in agreement with Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, where if we do his proposal, it's not going to impact any of the business upcoming. I also believe that it's the community's responsibility to hold their elected officials accountable. Sounds like at least some of that is happening. And it's their responsibility to call out us when we're doing something that we're not supposed to do, or doing something they don't want. And, you know, again, I do hear the community. I think that we're trying to get the business done. And again, the community is going to be responsible for calling out the council member that does or does not do what they're supposed to do. So I think to keep it clean, my understanding is that even if we had that, so if we appointed Jasper today, then if at the next time we have a meeting, Councilmember Rodriguez can make that nomination and move them. That wouldn't be a removal, that is to be a switch. But there is, in my opinion, there is no peril for city business to do what his proposal is today and say, if we can bring this back.
Through the mayor.
Okay, I have Councilmember Zachariah.
And again, just for clarification on the motion, is it maybe better to look at just tabling the idea in general? Do we have to make this specific motion for the actual appointments today?
Okay, City Attorney.
I'm sorry, there's some comments in the public. I can't hear very well.
Just for clarification, because we have two potential candidates and two potential seats. Does the motion need to be just a simple postponement of the agenda item that's on the board, or is it simply we do need specification of names to those specific seats?
Let me answer that question by saying there's actually a procedural requirement that goes on. I just took another look at the ordinance. Technically, the nomination has been for District 6.
Good, right.
The question is now can we switch it to District 2?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is you can make a motion, you can make a recommendation or a nomination, which has been done. You can certainly make a motion to do that. There's nothing under your agenda title Brown Act that prohibits you. However, there is one key step that has to be done first, and that is the mayor has to accept the nomination for District 2 because it is done by district. So if the mayor accepts that nomination this evening, you could proceed forward, assuming there's 4 votes to pass it. If not, she can assess what that means. So she could choose to reject it this evening, in which case the only thing is before you is to whether to appoint to District 6. And then that would be the sole issue before the city council. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. So my comment would be to make this clean, that we appoint John Jasper for District 6, and Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez has a vacancy. We can put Councilmember Venegas's appointment to District 2. That would make it totally clean, because then we would just fill out the paperwork that we have this application, put it through the channels, bring it back to council, and this appointment that he has received can go to 2.
Through the mayor, again, I really don't want to step in the middle of this, but I've got to tell you guys the process. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So that can work. The only thing is Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez would need to agree with whatever the nomination is from Councilmember Villegas. So if Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, so sorry, it's been a long night. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez accepted whoever it was that was nominated, then he could present that nomination to the mayor for appointment, and then it would come to the city council at a future meeting. However, if the mayor pro tem decided he didn't like that person, or whatever the case may be, or a nomination was not provided within a reasonable period of time, the mayor would have the authority to unilaterally appoint for District 6, and then that would be subject to confirmation from the city council.
Perfect. Thank you, City Attorney. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you. So my motion was already made. Again, I think it's just a cleaner way. It leaves him, his appointee from District 6. I read his resume. I know who he is. I'd like to appoint him for District 2 voluntarily. I received that, and I'm doing that now. And that's why I made that appointment. So if the mayor would say, I accept the appointment, it moves on. We get 2 people before the April 7th meeting, and we're done with it. Simple as that. I think the motion's already on the table. There was a second. So if we can move with that, then I'd love to proceed. It's a cleaner way of doing it. I think we're going to be okay. No business is being done up until April 7th. By that time, we'll have 2 nominations and 2 appointees on there as well.
Thank you for your comments, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez. No disrespect. I do think it's not the cleaner way to do it, because John Jasper does reside in District 6 and he wants to represent District 6. And so if he has comments and he has concerns, he can go out to his community that he knows very well, which he lives in. And I would think that would be the best fit for him in that position. And that's why I brought it to this council.
There is a first and a second. I'd like to see if we can.
Okay, I have a first and a second.
The mayor, again, so sorry. The vote does not count until the mayor either approves or rejects the appointment for District 2. I just want to be clear for that.
Correct.
So if she rejects it for District 2, there's nothing to vote on because it's not properly before the council. So just.
So Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, can you again repeat your motion?
Yes, my motion was to nominate Mr. John Jasper to District 2 so that he can take my vacancy, allowing Councilmember Villegas to bring in his nominee and appoint them all at the same time on our next meeting. That was my motion. Does that sound clear? Do I need to?
The only thing that you would also need is to ask the mayor, do you accept that nomination and appoint him to District 2?
And I say no.
And she says no. So that stops that right now. So the only thing that's before you this evening is District 5, which we haven't had a discussion about, and we have District 6. So the city council at this point can either, 4 people would have to give a thumbs up for the appointment to District 6, or you could continue the item to the next meeting to make sure that everybody else is here to speak in or contribute to it. But it would need 4 affirmative votes to appoint him.
So with that, I would like to make a motion to approve B10 as presented.
I'll second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Oh,
Can you do a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
no.
Councilmember Zachariah,
Yes.
Councilmember Montes,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans is absent, Councilmember Mejia is absent, Councilmember Villegas,
No.
and Mayor Gallegos.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry.
3-2 did not.
We have 3 yes votes and no vote. I'm sorry, 2 no votes.
So technically the motion fails. It did not pass, which means that the council can, you have a couple options at this particular point. You can either segregate out District 5 and approve District 5s, so that's done. You can make another motion to continue it to bring the rest of the city council here to consider it at the next meeting for District 6. Or you can treat it as both nominations are, or both appointments are rejected by the city council, in which case the mayor would either seek another nomination, or if no nomination is provided within a reasonable period of time, she would come back to the city council with another appointment for confirmation.
Thank you. So I motion that we approve District 5's nomination and that we bring back District 6 to the next council meeting.
And that would, through the mayor, that's Ms. Toscani for District 5.
It is, sir.
Item for District 6 would come back at the next meeting for additional consideration. In other words, same person, Mr. Jansen's, for consideration for the city council by the whole.
Correct.
Thank you. Just want to make sure.
I have a motion. Oh, after I get a second, we'll do it.
I'll second.
I have a second. Comments, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yeah, I was just going to, if we wanted to get this done tonight, I was just going to bring back the original motion that I made. If you would accept that, I think we can have this all done tonight. Bring it back and we'll have 2 nominees, 2 appointees. So, yeah.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Well,
I'm sorry.
We have a motion on the floor
What's
first.
your motion?
yeah,
No.
Same
What
motion.
was your motion?
To approve District 5 and to bring back District 6 to the next council meeting.
And that's what your motion was.
my motion was to, yes, pretty much bring it back at this time. And I would bring in the nominee of Mr. John Jasper and then have Councilmember Villegas bring in his nominee for approval on the next meeting. That would give us enough time to make the civil service meeting. That was my original motion.
So thank you so much for your patience.
Required our mayor's approval.
Yes. So you technically you can only nominate somebody to District 2 right now. The mayor has to accept that nomination. What you could do as a city council is you could continue the item for District 6 to the next meeting as is.
It's the motion.
That's what the motion
That
is.
was the motion.
Yeah.
But there's not a mechanism right now unless the mayor accepts the appointment, makes the appointment, then the city council confirms.
Yes. And at that moment, if the city council feels that that's the great thing, then they still need 4 votes to get it done. So regardless, we can toss it around however they want it. I'm just trying to fix it so that we don't have that problem coming to the next meeting, but rather we get it resolved. We have people doing the business of the people, which is that civil service. Instead, it seems like we're going to move back the thing that failed today. It doesn't make sense. So instead, why not fix it now so that when we come back, there's 2 people in that civil service and we're all squared away. It makes a perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense is putting that person in their district that they'd like to represent.
But I will remind you that someone
makes perfect
got
sense.
elected and has that discretion to make that nomination. And I think it's important that we recognize that. That's my thing that I'm saying. Now I'm giving up my vacancy there to satisfy that specific gentleman.
And we all make sacrifices and this dais in appointments. Council member Zachariah.
Just real quick, just again for clarification tonight. So with the approval of the current motion to approve District 5 and to table District 6, it still leaves the ability to do what we were attempting to do tonight, correct? There's not a requirement tonight that's to make any of those, even as a second motion or of any kind, or is there still need to be something done tonight to make sure next meetings can work to some degree?
So we have 2 districts in question right now, District 6 and District 2.
Yeah.
For tonight, oh my gosh, my brain's already starting to get fried from all this. For tonight, there is, my understanding the motion is approval of the resolution as to Ms. Toscano, and then to continue this item for District 6 to the next meeting. And to be clear, the resolution is going to require 4 votes. The continuance component is only going to require 3 votes.
Okay. Does that need to be separated then as 2 motions since it's, or just as long as we get the 3 on the?
It's currently a single motion.
Okay. So
thank you.
To my point earlier, at this the legal counsel is that if it comes back and you have 4 votes that go no, now we don't have anyone in that civil service still. That's what I mean. So it's best to have 4 then and have it done than not have no votes by the time it gets there. I thought this was a easy slam dunk. We can go through this process and get it done, but it seems like we're not getting it done. For me,
okay.
This is the business of this council in public. You had public comment earlier, and this item, they opened it up. So now this is us deliberating over this item. So I would appreciate it if you allow us to do that. Thank you.
With that, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Motion. Oh, you want to do roll call?
Councilmember Zachariah,
Yes.
Councilmember Montes,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans is absent, Councilmember Mejia is absent, Councilmember Villegas,
No.
Mayor Gallegos,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
No. And I have a question for you.
And the motion passes
In
3-2.
and fails in part.
Oh.
So the District 6 item is now continued to the next meeting. District 5, the resolution needs 4 affirmative votes in order to get that appointment. So the city council can choose to do that now if they have 4 affirmative votes.
I move to approve District 5.
Thank you. That would be the resolution appointing and just her, and we take out everything.
Correct.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously for District 5's appointment in the Civil Service Commission. All right, moving on. No workshop, city clerk.
Item D1 is Memorandum of Understanding with respect to the cost sharing for water year 2024 Madera Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Plan Annual Reports. Action on this item is by the successor agency.
Thank you. This is going to be presented by our Director of Engineering. Heath, I think you're muted.
He yells loud enough, we could probably hear him, right? He yells loud enough, can we hear him?
Yeah, right.
Keith, you're still on mute.
There we go.
I needed to unmute to go ahead and spot, excuse me, I needed to unshare to spot the audio button. I apologize for that.
No worries.
Anyway, thank you, Mayor, council members. Anyway, this is a memorandum of understanding with respect to the cost sharing for water year 2024 for the Madera Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Plan. And the Groundwater Sustainability Plan is the GSP, and it's for the annual reports. A little bit of background, the joint GSP is currently subject to 2 agreements that either directly or in relationship to the primary intent of the agreement call for participation in costs. There are 2 agreements, as I just said. The first was February 5th, 2020, and that's the Memorandum of Understanding with respect to the cost sharing and implementation of the Madera Subbasin Joint Groundwater Sustainability Plan. There are 2 components to that. One is for the preparation of annual reports, and the other is for other activities that are deemed necessary for the parties to the agreement. The second agreement is in June 24th, 2020. The staff report originally said January 15th. That was when the agreement was first adopted by council. However, it was later rescinded and a new agreement put in place on June 24th. This particular one allocated the point of contact fees based upon multiple guidelines. General questions and actions that are addressed to all GSAs, the costs are spread equally. Questions and actions that are specifically towards one of the GSAs are assigned directly to that GSA. And then there was another component, which is the data management system. This one's gone silent, but that's 1/7 of the cost. And when this data management comes online, the city would be paying 1/7 of that cost. The need for this new cost sharing agreement. The Department of Water Resources, DWR, recommended a coordinated subbasin annual report be submitted as a supplemental to the document to the other annual reports, in addition to the now standard joint GSP annual report. The preparation of this unified report does have additional costs, not already approved by council through the other 2 reports that I mentioned earlier, and more specifically included in February 5th, 2020 resolution. The cost would be spread amongst all 7 GSAs in a cost to the city. Namely, the additional unified report represents a cost of $7,407.14. That is an estimate. I'm being a little bit too detailed for an estimate, but that is an estimate. And these are the estimated costs for the annual report for 2014, or excuse me, for 2024. You'll see the $10,161.50. That is for the GSAs that are part of the joint GSP. We've been doing that every year since 2021. The combined report that it talks about all GSAs and GSPs in one report, that's $51,850 total is divided by 7 for the 7407.14. The funding, it has been staff's anticipation and recommendation that funding would continue through the Water Utility Fund as the actions under the SIGMA and the GSP directly impact the source of water in which the water system functions. With that, we have a recommended action that the council approve the memorandum of understanding with respect to the cost sharing for water year 2024 Madera Subbasin GSP annual reports. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that report so much. I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or concerns. I see none. I will open it up at this time for public comment. Anyone in the house? City Clerk Gonzalez, anyone online or on Zoom?
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you for that. I close public comment and bring it back to my colleagues.
Move to approve item D1.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that.
And
Next
thank
up.
you.
Authorization of the request of congressionally directed spending funding request for the Avenue 13 Sewer Rehabilitation Project and the 2.5 million gallon water tank project.
Thank you, City Clerk. And we have Administrative Analyst Say. She is going to be presenting it to us.
I do. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nicole Say, Administrative Analyst with the Engineering Department. I will share my screen here with you. Everyone should be able to see that.
Not quite full screened.
Oh, you know what? I think we have the wrong one here. Forgive me. One moment. There we go. Okay, we have the authorization for the request of congressionally directed spending funding request for the Avenue 13 Sewer Rehabilitation Project and the 2.5 million gallon water tank project. Just a little background, the federal government initiates the process that allows members of the House and Senate to make appropriation requests to be included in the federal budget. Through this process, various entities can request funds from the federal government, and approved appropriation requests are typically funded and administered by specific agencies depending on the request type. For example, requests to rehabilitate a sewer would be administered by the Environmental Protection Agency. And I believe there's something like 10 different agencies that can be applicable here. We have made previous requests, and in the past several years, 3 requests were granted, 2 by Representative John Duarte, excuse me. First one was for the Avenue 13 sewer trunk rehabilitation for $1 million. The other one was for the Howard and Pine sewer storm drain, or just, excuse me, not sewer, just storm drain for $1 million. And then one from Representative Costa, also for the Avenue 13 sewer trunk rehabilitation.
Excuse me, Nicole, this is Arnoldo. I'm not seeing your slides move, and I believe you had a slide on the information you just provided.
Oh, you're right. It's not moving. I apologize. It's moving on one screen, but not the other. There we go. Okay, here we are. So I'll just recap this again. John Duarte had 2, Representative Duarte, Avenue 13 for $1 million, and Howard and Pine for $1 million. And Representative Costa also for Avenue 13 for $3.5 million. The funds being requested as part of this action are for Avenue 13 sewer rehabilitation, which will be entering. This is for actually phase 3 of the project, and the 2.5 million gallon water tank being installed in the northeast section of town, also going into construction, and a funding request of $9 million. And as I said, for Avenue 13, you'll note on previous slides that we had previous requests. Those for previous phases of the project. This one will be for the segment to replace the trunk line from Granada Drive to State Route 99 along Avenue 13. And as the name would imply, the water tower project will construct a 2.5 million gallon water tank in the northeast of Madera. The reason for the funding request, as with most funding requests, is to secure funding to alleviate the impact on funds that are received, the revenue from ratepayers. And in this case, that would be the city water and sewer funds. And without some form of outside funding, some projects might need to be delayed. And if no funding is received, neither the sewer nor water fund have sufficient balances that would allow for the completion of these projects and all other capital improvement projects today. Which to say, as said, some will have to move back. It depends on the level of funding we may receive. There is a quick note on the resolution change. Item 3 of the resolution states that the city manager or her designee is designated to represent the city of Madera and authorized to sign any agreements related to this request. We were advised that it should say authorized to sign any documents related to this request. The city clerk's office will be amending the resolution to make this change. And with that, I will open it back up to questions.
Thank you so much for that report. I bring it back to my colleagues for questions or concerns. I see none. I open it up to public comment. City Clerk Gonzalez, anything online or on Zoom?
We have none, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I close public comment and bring it back to my colleagues for a motion and a second.
Move to adopt item D2.
I have a motion. I will second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Administrative analysts say. Moving on, City Clerk. Next item.
Item E2 is an informational report on the city's water division.
And that will be presented by our own City Manager, Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, Mayor, members of the council, Arnoldo Rodriguez, the city manager. If council can give me a second, I will be making this presentation. We have some key staff that could not make it this evening, so I am going to try my best. And if I look to my right, that's because I'm going to look to Ellen to help me. So council had requested an update on the city's water division several months ago. I apologize for the delay. And I think that this request initially came in because we had a number of leaks in the city's water system that we had a challenging time getting to. I'll preface by saying that every leak is important. We obviously prefer 0 leaks. The challenge sometimes is that you can have, which I would refer to as a relatively minor leak or a smaller leak, that sometimes gets put on the back burner because there's larger leaks, even though they may be more recent or they're newer leaks. We always go by the severity of the leak, not the timing of the leak. I understand that's not what the community wants to hear. And trust me, that's not something I want to hear as a city manager. The challenge is sometimes organizations have bandwidth issues, and the staff is paid directly by the cities, by the ratepayers, by folks, by their water bills. And so we obviously we're very cognizant and we're highly sensitive to the rates that we charge in the community. The simple solution is increase water rates. That's probably not what the community wants to hear. So we try to find that. So we try to strike a fine balance, which again, it's challenging at times. So overall, the Public Works Department consists of 5 divisions. The Water Division is one of the 5. The second division, they're actually no order here, but I just numbered them 1 through 5. Streets and storm drain, and that actually includes street sweeping. We have the wastewater treatment plant, and that also included in the wastewater treatment plant is the sewage collection system, and then city facilities, and then administration, which includes airport and solid waste. Within the water division, there are 3, which I would refer to as divisions or subdivisions. There's water maintenance, water quality, and then water conservation, which I will walk through some of those. So for some context here, the city relies 100% on groundwater. The city does not have surface water treatment rights, therefore we do not have a surface water treatment plant. I understand communities around us do have surface water rights. We are not one of those communities. Some of those would it would require an act of Congress and probably lots of years in court to secure those rights, but right now we do not have any. So the city has approximately 20 water wells, and on any given day, not all 20 are active. Sometimes we have some down for repairs. Right now, I can think of 2 of them that are being repaired. We also maintain approximately 200 miles of water mains. These are all approximate numbers, by the way. 2,000 public fire hydrants. The number's actually slightly north of that. There's also private fire hydrants, for example, in shopping centers or gated subdivisions. Those are private. The city does not maintain those. Roughly 4,000 street valves, and we also have 15,000 customer service connections. Those are typically the 1-inch or greater water meters. I think if I recall, we have about 5 lines that are 3/4 inch, but almost all of our water mains are at least a minimum of 1 inch. And again, we have 20 water wells. Staff also maintains the Cook Water Tower, which just went an approximately $3 million rehab project about a year ago. And the same team will be responsible for maintaining the new water storage tank, which Nicole discussed in the previous item. So in terms of staff, last year, staff repaired 165 water leaks. Not all of those are major water leaks in the middle of the roadway. The main lines, we had 5 water leaks, and those are oftentimes the ones that receive the most publicity on social media. The rest of the water leaks are probably not on the main line, but they're on the service line. But that does not mean that they're on private property. They're within the public right of way. So the city still maintains that. So the city maintains up to the water meter. After the water meter, it's the property owner's responsibility. Sometimes when staff assesses the situation, it's very difficult to tell where the water's at because water travels underground, and sometimes it takes digging to find out exactly where the water leak's coming from. Your average street repair takes about 4 staff members, and that's because we have heavy equipment operator, and then you also need additional staff, approximately 5 to 6 hours to repair. That's on average. There's some that take less, there's some that take longer. The meter box repairs, which are a lot more common, those take about 1 to 2 staff members and about 1 to 2 hours. In 2024, the city again repaired 165 water leaks, 4 fire hydrants were replaced, and 25 fire hydrants repaired. To provide context to council, we have 5 missing fire hydrants today. So we are in the process of ordering those. We had a meeting as recently as Monday, as I look over to Chief McComb to talk about this issue. And so staff, we are aware of those 5 missing hydrants. And the reason I'm saying they're missing, people are not stealing them. I guess in theory you could. It's oftentimes they're hit by vehicles, and then we have to order them. So in terms of water quality, we have 2 full-time water quality specialists. They maintain and they test the water. They collect approximately 90 to 120 bacteria samples per month. In 2024, they did 954. They ensured that we had over 3 billion gallons of water were produced, and they submitted 29 regulatory reports. I'm also proud to say that all of our samples came back clean, so we did not have any violations. So the city water is clean, at least in all of 2024, and obviously I have not heard anything this year. So there's 2 individuals that do that. We also have 2 water conservation specialists. These individuals drive around on a monthly basis, and they read 517 manual commercial meters. They troubleshoot can the meter sometimes, can the meters have to be recalibrated, or they stop working, or they begin to malfunction. So we have 2 individuals that will go out there. They also issue water citations. So a couple of metrics, they did over 5,700 meter reads last year, and they resolved about 175 meter issues. Sometimes those are very simple, sometimes they're a little more complicated. Oh, the people at home are going to be highly disappointed. If council can bear with me for a second, I'm not too sure.
Oh, yeah.
I would imagine people would like me to do that. I apologize for the millions watching from home. So in terms of, I do feel like I skipped a slide. No, that's water. Okay, so in terms of water usage, back in 1992, the state of California required every local jurisdiction in California to install water meters. There was an assembly bill later on that said that these had to be installed by January 1st, 2025. I can proudly report that nearly all of our customers have water meters, with the exception of about 300, which 300 sounds like a large number, but again, it's a couple of percentages of all of our customers. We're on pace right now to install all of these by the end of this calendar year, so that's the plan. All of the large water meters, which are 3 inches and above, have been replaced. So some of these are a little bit smaller. They're 1, 2 inches or 3-inch water meters. The graph on the screen now goes back to the year 2000, and it shows the amount of water that the city uses. And I understand this could be busy, but on the left-hand column, you have acre feet of water, 2,000, 4,000. You have the year on the bottom. The orange line is the population of the city. So going back to 2000, our population was about probably 45,000. We are closer to 67,000 today, but yet it's clear that the city is using significantly less water couple of reasons for that. Obviously, water meters is the biggest. People today are paying by the amount they use. That's had a direct impact in the amount of water that the city is required to generate. And at the same time, a lot of our toilets and dishwashers have become more efficient, such as shower heads. So people are simply using less water. That's great for the community, but that does not mean that the price goes down in water. It may potentially have the inverse relationship where the gallon per water increases because the line in the road still has to be maintained in the pressurized lines. So the amount of water flowing through the line is not as important because, again, it's a pressurized line. That could mean that the cost per gallon increases. So in terms of staffing, so this is the water team that actually goes out and makes the repairs. We currently have 2 lead workers. We have 3 field staff. We have 4 vacant positions. We have made 3 offers. So we have 3 standing offers to individuals to join us. This team is a little difficult to recruit, primarily because it does require special certifications. And these certifications are administered by the state of California, not by the city of Madera. We've tried a couple of different things. We have hired 5 individuals in the past couple of years that did not have certifications. We sent them to training. Unfortunately, the 5 were not able to obtain their D1. The 3 offers we have right now, all 3 of them have at least a D1. And so we're pretty excited they're in background, but that does not always mean that they're going to come to the city. And this is individuals with certificates they're highly sought out, not just by public agencies, but by farmers, by private companies. So this is it's a position that's in high demand in our area, especially because there's a lot of ag around us. So in terms of the financial impacts, the water division is sustained 100% through the ratepayer. So that's the community's water bills. The city council a number of years ago did allocate $6 million of ARPA funds, which is assisting tremendously. And again, this $6 million did not guarantee that the water rates would go down. What we were attempting to do was mitigate them from increasing. Council may recall, for the veteran council members at the time, if council had not allocated the $23 million of ARPA, staff had projected that everyone's sewer and water bill would increase by an additional $29 per month in year 1. In order to mitigate that, council allocated $23 million of ARPA funds, which was 100% to sewer and water. The vast majority went to the sewer, 17 million, the remaining went to the water. As time continues, we are seeing a rising cost in terms of operations. Primarily, our infrastructure is getting older. When you have older infrastructure, things start to break just like your house. It is no different. And I think the community should be mindful. We have about 200 miles of water line. Some of these water lines are brand new as new communities go in, but we also have some older parts of the community that are about 100 years old. And then obviously, city council cannot adjust rates as it pleases. Rather, there's a long process as defined by Proposition 218 approved by the voters in the state. The last time the city went through this was in the summer of 2022. And we anticipate beginning that process in probably 18 months. And that would obviously be a lengthy process. So, and I will state that the staff report incorrectly stated that we had 1 lead worker in the water division. We do have 2 people in the 2 lead workers. So it's a total of 5 current folks that repairs the water leaks, and we have 4 vacancies. We have 3 individuals in background right now. So our goal is to be fully staffed so we can start to address some of these issues. Some of these issues include addressing the water leaks timelier, which the community's made it very clear that that's what they expect. We have 5 missing fire hydrants that we're in the process of replacing, and we have about 51 fire hydrants that are inoperable right now. We started testing the fire hydrants, council may recall, about 2 years ago, and we've slowly been repairing those. And the goal is to be fully staffed to ensure that those fire hydrants are 100% operable. And so that concludes my presentations, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, City Manager. I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or concerns.
Arnaldo, just real quick, as far as like the public's ability to report, like when they see leaks in the waterways and stuff, does the city have, is it 311 or is there a better portal to kind of maybe alert staff to some situations?
The community can report it several ways. They can call. The community can always call our public works department. Oftentimes after hours, they'll call the police department. The city always has someone on standby 24/7. So oftentimes, even if it's a small leak, if someone calls the police department, I would recommend the non-emergency line at the police department. Then dispatch will reach out to our city staff. Our city staff person will go out there and they'll make an assessment. If it's a significant leak, they'll call in reinforcements and they'll start working on it on the spot. If staff feels like it's a relatively minor leak and they can get to it in the morning, then that's typically what they do. Again, larger leaks though, city staff will address them immediately, and sometimes that includes working throughout the evening, or if a fire hydrant is knocked over. So again, probably the best way is to call the public works department. If it's after hours, they can always call non-emergency dispatch at the police department.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Zachariah. At this time, I open up for public comment. I see none. Any online or on Zoom? City Clerk Gonzalez.
Have none, Mayor.
Thank you. With that, I close this item. It was informational only, and we'll move on to the next.
Thank you.
Item E3 is audited comprehensive financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024.
Thank you. And we have our Finance Director, Lima, presenting for us tonight with Consultant Auditor, Mr. Roth.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Lima, Director of Financial Services. I think I've mentioned before, but I'll say it again. There are 2 days out of the year that bring joy to the otherwise sad and miserable existence of a finance director. And those days are the day that we present the budget and the day we present the ACFR. And so it brings me great joy today to bring the ACFR to you for acceptance. The ACFR shows the financial activity and the financial state of the city as of June 30th, 2024. So approximately 9 months ago. But it's a very important document. A lot of people look at the budget and they get really excited about the budget. And the budget is really important. I don't want to downplay that. But I think they overlook the ACFR. And I think the ACFR plays a major role in informing the public and informing the policymakers like yourselves about the financial condition of the organization. To put it simply, you have to know where you are in order to be able to know where you want to go. And this book tells you where you're at. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Roth with the Poon Group. The Poon Group was the external audit firm that did the that audited our financial statements, and he will go through the highlights of them at this time. So, Andrew, the floor is yours.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm here to present the financial statements for our audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Some items we're going to go through. We'll go through the scope of work and timing. Are some required communications required by the auditing standards. The overall overview of the financial statements, key financial information, and key financial indicators and pension and OPEB information, as well as the audit results. So our scope of work. So overall, for the city, we performed the financial statements audit of the ACFR, that's Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, the TDA, the Transportation Development Audit, and the Measure T Sales Tax Audit, which are not included in this, and we're going to be issued next week, as well as the compliance audit, that's the single audit for federal funds received by the city. So some required communications. As part of the audit, there are responsibilities for management and then also for the auditor. So we'll go through some of those at this time. Management's responsible for the financial statements, to present those financial statements in accordance with the accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America, to adopt sound accounting policies, to establish and maintain internal controls over financial reporting and compliance, to provide evidence supporting the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. Management's also responsible for the fair presentation of those financial statements that are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error, and management's responsible to prevent and detect fraud. We, the auditors, as our audit team, we are responsible to perform the audit in conformity with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and standards applicable to financial audits contained in government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. To communicate with those charged with governance, that's in this case, that would be the City Council, and that's part of the communication is this communication here. We're also responsible to assess audit risk of internal control or financial reporting, to determine the fair presentation of the financial statements and related note disclosures. And at an audit, we are responsible to render an opinion on the financial statements and issue recommendations to management, if any. So we are also required to communicate some significant accounting policies. If you want a good general understanding of the city, you'll go to the note 1, which is going to be your summary of significant accounting policies. This has a really good overview of the city, the reporting entity, and kind of just the main accounting policy utilized by the city in preparation of these financial statements. It is noted that the GASB Statement 100 was implemented during the year. This did not have a significant effect on the city, so there were no new implementations that had significant effects on the city, but there was a new implementation. Significant estimates. As part of the financial statements, the city is required to make certain estimates. These estimates include the fair value of investments, the depreciation on capital assets, that would be the useful life, how long a in service an asset will be good for. And then also the net pension and OPEB liabilities, which have significant actuarial assumptions that are typically determined through the use of an actuary. We also want to communicate some sensitive disclosures. As stated, note 1 is your summary of significant accounting policies, which is a good overview of the general financial policies of the city. Note 5 is going to be your lease receivable note. Note 12 and 13 are good. They're large amounts, so that's your pension and your OPEB liabilities. So those are pretty good disclosures to review. Also, the other required disclosures that would note, say, deficits and fund balance in that position. I think one's the RDA successor agency that's going to be paid back with our PTTF funds. Also, the note 19 commitments and contingencies. That's going to include any kind of construction commitments or legal contingencies or any other kind of contingencies related to that. So misstatements, we noted there were no corrected or uncorrected misstatements reported during the audit. Consultations with other accountants, this kind of auditor shopping based on management's informed us, and to our knowledge, there were no consultations with other accountants regarding auditing or other matters as part of the audit. We also noted that there was no significant difficulties in dealing with management during the audit, and we had no disagreements with management in the term of accounting treatment or audit procedures performed. So now we'll go and do an overview of the financial statements. So the government-wide net position, June 30th, 2024, for the total city, the ending assets, which would be cash or receivables, capital assets, was $505 million. That was about an increase of about $15 million, which includes certain capital grants and contributions. There was, from year to year, I believe, the change in investment earnings was about $5.5 million in just other activity, and noted that increase. The deferred outflows of resources, this is going to be related to the actuarial assumptions related to pension and OPEB. These assumptions are items that, due to the change in experience and assumptions, they want to amortize the change from year to year in those. So that's what these deferred inflows and outflows are typically used for actuarial assumptions. So the largest piece is those actuarial assumptions, and we also do put the contribution after measurement date. But ending balance was $19 million. That was a slight decrease, so not a significant change. Liabilities, the overall city's liabilities for the year ended 2024 was $146 million. A large part of this is going to be related to the recognition of the ARPA unearned revenue. Previously, when you received the ARPA funds, it was unearned, but then when you spent it on allowable expenditures, it was earned, and that was about a $7 million change. So deferred inflows of resources, you'll note there was a slight decrease to $2.2 million. This is mainly the actuarial assumptions for pension and OPEB, as well as items related to lease receivable, which is not significant. As part of net position, we noted the net investment in capital asset did increase, so that net investment in capital assets is going to be your capital assets net of any related debt. That did increase to $242 million during the year. And that was also net of depreciation, but part of that is going to be the increase. There was the sewer projects that were ARPA funded that did increase the net investment in capital assets. There was an increase in the restricted net position to about $60 million in the current year. Restricted net position is going to be any net position that's related. It's restricted by law, any kind of any laws set by the state or any local laws or any grant agreements that would be restricted. So unrestricted. So this is going to be the overall everything else. You'll note that the unrestricted net position is about $73 million in the current year. So this is an increase from year to year of about close to $15 million. So overall, total net position was $376 million for the current year. For the government-wide changes in net position, as the way I explained the government-wide changes in net position or the statement of activities is more like it, is that within the statement of activities, you're going to include a lot of items related to changes in the pension actual assumptions. So that would be your deferred inflows, outflows. You'll be your net pension liability as well, your net OPEB liability. So these items are typically expenditures that can vary, especially after COVID, from year to year. So you will note that the expenses for the current year were $93 million, which was an increase from $79 million, which there was partially was a pension related because there was that pension kind of from year to year was going up and down, and some of the amortization for the post-COVID like investment loss and investment gains, as well as I think there was some timing on some accruals as well. So there was an increase of expenses, but when you see expenses here, this isn't like the budgeted expenses. This includes a lot of pension stuff, a lot of stuff that is determined by outside sources and actuarials. But you will see when we go to the general fund change in fund balance that is pretty much that matches what is the budgeted, and that's like dollar for dollar. So then the program revenues, you'll note that the charges for services ended about $45 million, which was a slight increase from year to year. Your operating grants and contributions was about $12.4 million, so that was a slight increase as well. And then your capital grants and contributions, we noted that was $10.2 million, which was the significant portion of that is the ARPA funding. So you will note that the overall program revenues and the difference between program revenues and general revenues is program revenues are revenues that you can directly relate the revenues to expenses or expenditures or capital assets being built. So when you do see those program revenues, those are directly related. So when we look at net cost of services, that is going to be the amount of total expenses of the city versus the amount of program revenues that are directly related to direct expenses, was about $23.6 million. So it was a slight increase. But then you offset that with your general revenues, which is going to be your property tax, your sales tax, which noted a slight increase to $38 million in the current year. Your general revenue other, the most significant portion of that I discussed before is going to be the swing in investments earnings was about $5.5 million, which was a significant portion of that. So you'll note that overall change in that position was a positive increase in change in that position of $4 million to about $24.8 million in the current year. So your general fund, so you'll note that your general fund assets did increase about it was $253.3 million. So this was an increase in obviously that investment income, as well as it was mainly the investment income that was an increase in cash. There was an increase in the liabilities. to $4.1 million. This relates to a change in the timing of some payables and accounts payable in the general fund. The deferred inflows of resources, there was a slight decrease to about 488,000, not significant. And then the fund balance. So your fund balance is going to be broken into non-spendable, which had a slight increase in non-spendables is going to be prepaids or inventories. Your restricted, which I discussed before, the restricted funds is any items that are going to be restricted by law or agreement or any other kind of council action. That was an increase to about $4 million. Committed fund balance. So those committed fund balance is a commitment that is required to be placed by the city council, and then it can only be removed by the city council. So a big piece is going to be a contingency reserve or other items. The assigned fund balance noted a decrease. So assigned fund balance is going to be that fund balance that can be set and assigned by the person set by council. In this case, it's typically the city manager. I think that is who is assigned in this case to set assignments. So that did decrease to about 13.8 million. Then your overall unassigned. So the unassigned fund balance, kind of like that is that's anything that's not in other buckets, but it's also your rainy day fund. That did increase to about $14.6 million. So there was an overall increase in unassigned, which is the rainy day fund, of about $2.3 million. So overall fund balance was $48.7 million at the end of the year. Then your general fund changes in fund balance. So you're going to note the revenues did increase. In the general fund, there was an increase in the property tax revenue that was recorded, as well as the increase in the investment income that was discussed. There were also some increase in the expenditure. So that was about $43 million, about a $2.5 million increase in revenues. The expenditures was at $43 million. This did see also an increase related to some timings of some expenditures. And then also there was some capital outlay increases in the capital purchases. So revenues over expenditures did decrease slightly from the prior year but it was still at 805,000, and that's before any transfers. And transfers had a slight decrease. Transfers were going to be those transfers between funds that are budgeted by council. But overall, your change in net visit or change in fund balance for the general fund was $2.9 million. It was a little bit of a decrease. I think last year we had some more ARPA items in the general fund, but the change this year was about $3 million. So some key financial indicators in pension and OPEB information. So this ratio here is going to be your unassigned fund balance, so your annual expenditures and the general fund. So this really is going to be your rainy day fund ratio, just using that unassigned fund balance amount. And this, the GFOA, that's the Government Finance Officers Association, they do recommend a 20% best practice for the rainy day fund, and the city right now in that rainy day fund in the unassigned is about 34%. So and it's increased from year to year, so that is a good increase. So going through some net pension liability and OPEB information. So this kind of just goes through what your change in the net pension liability was from year to year. There was not a significant change from year to year. You'll note that overall the liability increased about 453,000, which includes the changes related to the benefit terms, the experience assumptions, and contributions by the city as well as the employees, and that's net of the investment income, which was an increase. So looking at the cost sharing plan, so the difference between a cost sharing plan for the safety plan and your miscellaneous agent plan is an agent plan is anything in CalPERS that has over 100 employees. So the active employees, so the cost sharing plan means you're in a pool with all the other cost sharing plans within CalPERS, but so that's why you don't see the roll forward of the change in each piece. It's more of just like a moment in time. That at the year end, it was at $24.7 million, so it was about a $1.1 million increase. So there wasn't a significant increase in the pension liability in the current year. I think last year there was a larger increase. So, but this year it kind of like evened out a little bit. So moving on. So net OPEB liability, you've got about $4.8 million liability in the current year. A slight increase as well in that liability related to the service costs, interest, and the net of any benefit payments made. And the difference on total OPEB liabilities, because there's not a trust in the OPEB right now, and if you were to set up a trust, that would be a net OPEB liability. And then going on to the audit results. So the opinion was an unmodified opinion on all opinion units. This is a clean opinion. This is what you're looking for. This means that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respect. The accounting policies have been consistently applied. The estimates are reasonable. The disclosures are properly reflected in the financial statements. We also noted that there's no disagreements with management. No material weaknesses or significant deficiencies were identified in the internal controller financial reporting, and no accounting issues or inappropriate activities were noted during the audit. That is my presentation, and thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so he threw a lot of numbers at you, so let me hit a couple of highlights. $505 million of assets. In other words, $500 million. Okay, first time in the city's history we've hit that mark. $118 million of revenue in 1 year. Again, another record. Never has been reached in this city's history. Also, $93 million of expenses. Never reached before in this city's history. So revenues and expenses both are going up. All those indicators are indicators that you're in a growing city that is no longer a small city. You're a good mid-sized city at this point. And the financial results that you're seeing, the growth in fund balance, the growth in cash, those are the direct results of the policies that this council set as executed by the city manager and staff. This is the kind of report that we have that makes finance directors happy to give, because it really is a solid financial report that you're seeing today. So we should all take a moment, pat ourselves on the back, and then walk away and start over again, because that's what we need to do to keep the momentum going. But it's a very good report. I'm very happy to present it to you. Let's just keep the momentum going. With that concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Direct Finance Director Lima and Auditor Roth for that report. I would just like to comment on our staff for giving the information needed and working with us. I appreciate all the time that was put in, and what a delight, what a positive note that we are going to end our evening with tonight. Thank you for all your hard work and our staff here in the city of Madera. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Gallegos. So Mike, again, thank you. And the auditor, I want to thank you for the presentation, detailed. So one of the things that stands out towards the end was our unrestricted fund balance. I think you mentioned for our general budget, we're closer to $14 million. General practice, he said somewhere between 20%. 20% is just to meet the minimum. Yeah. We're hovering over 34%. Mm-hmm. What does that state about us as far as the fund balance? Are we above a certain threshold when we look at that, the unrestricted general fund balance?
Well, you got to think of the unrestricted general fund balance as like he's
rainy day.
Exactly, rainy day. Yeah. I don't think it's a secret that there's a lot of government agencies around us that are looking at very tough budget times. City of Fresno announced a $20 million budget deficit going into the upcoming year. And they've said it's probably even higher than that. Fresno County announced 2 weeks ago, $15 million deficit. Heard of some budget cuts that are kind of already going on in Madera County. So you're with that kind of fund balance that we have, it mitigates the possibility of those kind of cuts, of those significant things. So it's a balance of whether, because that's also resources that have been given by taxpayers, and we have basically put them in a bank. So there's a balancing act that fortunately you folks get to decide on, not me. But how do you utilize those? What is that balance? I can tell you a 34% reserve puts us in a very strong financial position to weather any budget turndowns. So it makes it a good place to be financially.
Thank you, Mike. And I appreciate your comments about we are in a growing state. Mm-hmm. So taking that into account, just a question, I mean, you don't have to necessarily answer it, but given that we're in a growing state and we have certain capital projects that require certain funding, a lot of times we wait for this funding. 20% represents about $8 million from that general fund balance. We're at 34. That puts about anywhere between $5 to $6 million available. Is in your I mean, your suggestion or recommendation, could we utilize any of that to fulfill any of those shortcomings or shortfalls that we have in certain projects and or needs that the city has today?
I take the fifth on that question.
Okay.
No,
I figured you would.
Yeah. No,
does that put us in, and let me put it this way, would that put us in a strain having to come down a little lower than what we are comfortable with?
So, that is a policy issue that the council makes. That is a policy discussion. I could tell you that it's nice to have that in the bank. There are a lot of agencies around here who wish they probably had that kind of reserve here. Now, could it be used to address capital needs? Absolutely. That is a possibility. General fund dollars can be used for anything, pretty much at the discretion of whatever council decides. However, you have to decide, is it worth doing that? Or is it worth keeping it in case something else goes really sideways? This community has gone through a couple of sewer line breaks in recent years. Fortunately, we had reserves in the sewer fund, but if those hadn't existed, we would have to tap the general fund. And so you like to have that. I mean, and I'm really speaking of myself here. This is personal opinion. You really like to have that in hand in case something like that happens. So, I don't envy you for making those policy decisions. That's why I sit in the bureaucrat side and not on your side. But it's a choice you'll need to make. Whether you think that it's better to address a capital need now or have that money down the road for some big emergency when it actually pops up.
Correct. No, and thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Like any other accountant that any business would look at, I think they look at their accountant to wisely guide them whether or not it'd be a good time to take such action or expenditure that you have to do. But in the state that we're in, a growing community, we can anticipate that we hope to increase a lot of our general fund by increasing our sales tax dollars. I know that there's economic times coming around the corner, but thank you. Appreciate that. And hopefully this council at some point will have to make a decision. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Director Lima, for that report. At this time, I open it up for public comment. I see none. Any online or on Zoom?
We have none, Mayor.
With that, I close public comment and bring it back to my colleagues for a motion.
To accept the report.
To accept, was it
E3.
E3?
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Next item, City Clerk Gonzalez.
Item E4, informational report on transportation funding source expenditures.
And that will be presented by our Deputy City Engineer Bitter. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and the audience. I will share this. Okay, I think I got it. All right, tonight we are presenting an informational report on certain transportation funding sources, specifically that are administered by the Madera County Transportation Commission. One of the reasons why I'm here is it was a request by council to come back and provide some information that was triggered by a report delivered by the Madera County Transportation Commission it's an annual report on the funds that they administer, and they're responsible for asking the agencies to, show some good stewardship on project delivery and consideration of projects and funds that are carrying higher balances, similar to our financial report we just had on their end. They have some fund balances and certain funding sources, and they would like assurances that the local agencies do intend to ultimately deliver the projects and spend down those funds. And also, this is no time like the present. It's kind of kicking off some of those discussions of our CIP as we move into next fiscal year. So with regard to project delivery, this year in particular, we've been, as I call it, chasing deadlines with all the different projects that we've brought forward. The American Rescue Plan Act, we had to have all those funds encumbered by the end of last year, and we met that goal. We do have Regional Surface Transportation Program exchange funds that are administered by MCTC, and those have, we had deadlines we had to meet of November, or expenditure deadlines of November. So that means we have to get the project out and in construction today so that all those funds are drawn down by November. We had the American Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant that agreement required expenditure of those funds by July of this year, and that project is currently under construction. Community Development Block Grant funds, again, we need to draw down those funds by April, or there's a risk of loss of funds. And other deadlines, specifically, we have a major water main replacement project in State Route 145 that needs to be completed before they come in and do the CAP-M overlay improvements. So, and we're trying to work with their schedules to get in and out before they're there. So I wanted to highlight, again, the projects that we have completed this year, awarded. I won't name everyone. You might recognize several of them, but to date for this fiscal year, we've awarded $28 million of projects. Just not all of them are tied to funds that MCTC necessarily administers or would be aware of. We have a project out to bid right now for pedestrian improvements for $290,000, and we have 8 more that are pushing to get out. Like I said, the water main replacements, we have a new well. We need to keep our water supply steady, so, and several others. So all in all, if we're successful in delivering all these, we're looking at 37 million. So we are delivering the projects, and a few of them are related to the transportation. The one I think that is of most concern is our congestion mitigation and air quality, because this one has the highest risk to the region if we don't deliver the projects. It's subject to AB 1012, which is the 3-year use it or lose it. So Caltrans gives the region money, and we have to have obligated that same amount of money within 3 years. And so it's a rolling tally. We did really good for a while. As of late, and when I say the region, it's the city, Chowchilla, and the county. Our obligation amounts have not been enough to keep us caught up. They have been able to loan out our apportionments, and so another agency can use it, and then they give it back to us. But then what happens is now our goals for obligation continue to grow. So it's a tricky, I guess, path to work with, and I think they're given some of the potential changes coming with regard to federal funds. If they ever choose to pull back any unobligated funds, that is where this would be the biggest impact. If we didn't obligate them, those are the funds that would likely be removed. So let's see. We do have, and another point is, you can only obligate funds that are in your federal transportation improvement program. So if an agency has a project they can deliver, if it's not in the FTIP, they're out of luck. They can't do it. So right now the city does have about 50% of the funding capacity in the FTIP, and it's for 13 projects. Several of them are moving forward. On the next slide, I'm going to talk about the ones that have been, I call them delayed. They're past that 3-year threshold. So potentially, if for the good of the region, MCTC felt that we needed to move a project out to bring in a project that could be delivered faster, they have that ability as a board to choose to do that. I'm not saying they're going to necessarily go after all of these, but these are potentially ones that would be at risk. and some of these are on here for good reason. Lake Forest Central, we started out with the roundabout design, went back to the traffic signal. Now we're back to the roundabout. Good decision. I don't want to steal the engineer's thunder, but I'm really pleased with a new proposal that's being brought forward. You'll be seeing that soon, so I think it will move forward. We've had some delays with our trails on the north side of the river with community concerns, so we've had to put those on the back burner. We have a pedestrian bridge that's scheduled to go over the river near Granada. That project, it's a big animal anytime you have an improvement over the river. And so, but we are planning to obligate the design phase this year, so that once we get that obligation, we'll get a consultant on board and start the design and move that forward. And then we have some transit improvements for a zero-emission vehicle and electric charging stations at the transit center. And, they're in a transition phase right now and determining which way they want to go with their fleet. And then there had been issues on even if the grid could support those charging stations. I think I heard that maybe we're past that, but I can't address that one specifically. The other funding source is regional surface transportation exchange funds. We did have to ask an extension for a couple of years, but our current projects that we have in construction right now, we've caught up, and I do believe that we're on track to stay within our use it or lose it provisions. Again, the Fourth Lake Central intersection, that is a project that also has RSTP funds, so if we keep that moving, we'll make those draws. Olive Avenue widening has RSTP funds. So if we keep them making progress on those, we should be in good shape. And we do have some flexibility to move those funds around. If we're getting a little tight, we might swap out different funding sources so we can meet those deadlines. I would call that a medium risk for loss of funds. CMAQ, I'm calling high risk, RSTP medium risk. Local transportation funds, a low risk. I think as good stewards, I think MCTC doesn't like to see the high balance. We did carry over 7 million. However, that's scheduled for the CAP-M project, our contribution for that, and of almost 2.6 million. We have 1.3 million for a project that's currently under construction, the local match, and then we flip-flopped it. We built phase 2 before phase 1, but phase 1, which also is on Yosemite Avenue, is going to be fully funded with local transportation funds. And then the remaining 3.8 million is scattered as matching for several other projects in the CIP. Transit funds, again, I call this low risk. They would like to see the funds drawn down, and we have a good understanding that there is a program in place for LC-TOP, which is the acronym, State of Good Repair, and SB 125, that those are all scheduled for funding and accounted for in the transit's operations and capital plans. Lastly, Measure T, again, low risk, it's local control. They just would, it's good for the public to see us spending down the Measure T. We have been reserving funds for some larger projects, Olive Avenue Gateway, widening from Gateway to Knox, and the Ahmed Avenue extension from Pine to Stadium. We also have several street rehabilitation projects, which is our overlays and seals. And we've got 4 big projects totaling 5.2 million. In Measure T funds. And now that we've, I think, gotten a lot of our other deadline-driven projects out, that we'll see these moving forward. And these are also matched with other funds, LPP and some LTF funds in there. So it's actually more than $5 million in street rehab work we've got coming around the corner now that we've completed our pavement management plan as well. So that is the conclusion of this report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. I bring it back to my colleagues for any questions or concerns. I do have one question, Deputy Engineer. I didn't see anywhere, and maybe it's in a different bucket of money, is the Westbury Bridge.
So the Westbury Bridge is currently funded with impact fees in the design phase. It is not fully funded as of yet. We're looking at future Measure T revenues to go towards that project, we might look, there's several options. It's not fully funded yet, and it's a couple years out, I think, before we see that. But it could be RSTP, Measure T, impact fees, grant funding. So.
Okay, thank you so much. Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Thank you, Deputy Ellen. Thank you for the presentation. So we can't say that it's a lack of maybe manpower to finish, but rather funding to complete a lot of these projects, or is it that we don't have these projects programmed for any specific contractor to get these out?
To use city manager's term, it is a bandwidth issue to some point. We're going after the highest risk loss of funds or public safety issues first. That's some of these projects have been on the books for a while, and we'll start working on them, and then another priority will jump in front of it. So most of these are fully funded. It's just a matter of getting them to that next phase. Occasionally, we'll run into hiccups dealing with certain agencies like the railroad or other public utilities that we might have a conflict with, and it takes time to get through those issues. That could cause delays as well, if that addressed your question.
Yes. More importantly, so the funding, especially for some of these projects that are fully funded, then when you say bandwidth, it's just a matter of red tape is what I'm hearing, like maybe certain things that kind of get in the way, railroad, other things that pop up, but these projects are fully funded at the time. And I did see that on some of these projects since 2009, what is the incremental cost that continues to add on to these projects when we don't finish them? I'm not requesting an answer, but rather, prolonging these, not only do we risk losing some of these funds, but if we have a general fund balance that we can use our reserve balance to expedite it in a way that we can jump on these a lot sooner than later. I mean, those would be my recommendations, and that'll come through when we do the CIP. But, I thank you for the report. I know it's important. I think when MCTC came out and reported that, they were just making us aware that if we don't utilize these funds, then we have potential of losing that. And that would be a harsh detriment to our community. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor Gates.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez. With that, I open it for public comment. I see no public comment. Is there any on Zoom or online? City Clerk Gonzalez.
We have none, Mayor.
Thank you. I will close public comment at this time and bring it back to my colleagues for a motion in a second.
It's information.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Informational. Thank you. Okay, City Clerk, moving on.
This portion of the meeting is reserved for the mayor and council members to make brief reports on boards, committees, and other public agencies, and at public events to request updates, to initiate future agenda items, and to take action on matters initiated under this section of the agenda. Under this section, the council may take action only on items specifically agendized and which meet other requirements for action.
Thank you for that. I will go to my right for Council Member Zachariah.
Just a brief update. Our Madtown Robotics did a clean sweep of their last event, their regional 17-0 to take it. And that does give them the ticket now to their world championship. So excited to hear that. So that's all.
All right. Congratulations to them. Thank you for that. Council Member Montez.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to the police department. Seems like they've been exceptionally busy over the last few weeks, months. I mean, they're always busy, but especially engaging with the community. Invited us to Citizens Academy opening day, the first day, and then had the town hall last night, which I think was it was a little bit different, but it's definitely very productive, especially some of the town halls that are going around in other locations. So we really do appreciate the thoughtful approach, and again, very productive. I'm hoping to see some of the consolidated concerns. I was trying to take pictures of everything, but I know that's something you guys are working on. So I really do appreciate all the work that you guys are doing and all of staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member Montez. Council Member Villegas.
Oh, nothing to report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor Gagos. First and foremost, I wanted to just acknowledge that we now have our community hospital open. So that's a great news for all of those that went out to their opening. That was great to see you all out there again. It's been a long awaited process, but we have a hospital, which is good. As far as the services that go, obviously there may be some limited services that it doesn't offer, but for the most part, the most essential services are there. I also wanted to report back. I did have an opportunity to travel to Sacramento through a Valley Voice MCTC. Again, advocating for Valley Voice. One of the things that's of concern as of late is how we're going to replace the funding for the gas tax that we currently collect. Obviously, when you go to the pump, you have to pay a certain tax. That tax then is funneled through the state, and that's how we get a lot of the funding for a lot of these state and or federal programs. Well, if more folks are converting to electrical vehicles, then obviously that creates a gap in that funding. So now there is a proposition of bringing a solution for that and how we would want to collect that shortage or a new process of collecting the tax. And obviously, as your representatives for the MCTC, that's what we're doing out there, is making sure that we advocate for one that is not onerous on the people from our valley as well, but also that's fair across the board so that there isn't any gaps in that funding. We also advocated for certain truck-weighted fees. As you come through 99, obviously, there's pinch points. We can't always complete the funding. We talked about it here. There's a lot of funding that comes through the federal government and the state, but utilizing those fees and divert them over to projects that we can deliver a lot sooner than later hasn't happened because a lot of those fees have been diverted back to paying the debt service. So again, advocating that we release those funds, bring them back so that our communities can finish those projects and fulfill those promises we made, not only through the Measure T campaign, but other infrastructure projects that we brought. And last but not least, I just wanted to give my sentiment to this council for passing the resolution regarding the Welcoming City. I was in full support. I'm sorry that I couldn't attend, but thank you again for passing that resolution. And with that, Madam Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez. I'm going to be quick here. Shout out to PD again. Councilmember Montez said town hall meeting was amazing. Thank you for my colleagues that did attend last night. A little cold for me. Let me tell you, the community was so engaged. It was exciting. We have our food bank ribbon cutting for their brand new building next Wednesday, following Wednesday at 10 o'clock. So if you have time, come on out. And then I would like to just thank the community for all their prayers and support for our hospital. We had a prayer with quite a few pastors and this community a few weeks ago, and our prayers have been answered. It is open. I have been meeting with Governor Newsom's staff and Congressman Gray about some funding, because we did talk and we've heard from our deputy engineer several times that we are in dire need of some federal money and dollars to help us with our wastewater treatment sewer line. We've repaired going west, but we are in desperate need going east. And so I am working with the congressman looking at some grants and what we can do. And Governor Newsom's office is like, well, we're the state. And I said, I get it, but your word, your connections could give us maybe another leg up, maybe a phone call in, whatever it takes. So those communications with our upper electeds are going to help us get our city back moving where it needs to be in the right directions. With that, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us this evening. If our city attorney will take us into closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two items for closed session tonight. Item one is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 5495-7.6. The agency designated representatives are Arnaldo Rodriguez, Wendy Silva, Michael Lima, and Shay Johnson. The employee organization are Madera Affiliated City Employees and Association, Madera Police Officers Association, Mid-Management Employee Group, and Law Enforcement Mid-Management Employee Group. Item G2 is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 5495-7.6. The agency designated representative is Arnaldo Rodriguez and Shay Johnson. The unrepresented position are Police Chief, Director of Parks and Community Services, City Engineer, and Director of Human Resources Director.
Thank you. With that, I open it up to public comment. I see no public comment. City Clerk Gonzalez, any online or on Zoom?
We have none, Mayor.
And I need to finish. Other page need to be flipped
sorry.
over. So sorry.
Keep going.
Of Information Technology, Chief Building Official, Planning Management, Director of Financial Services, Public Works Operation Director, and Director of Community Development. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I close public comment at this time, and we will move into closed session.
reportable action in closed session.
With that, I will adjourn this meeting tonight at 8:58, and we will see you Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 at 6 o'clock. Good night, everyone.